Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm the GSkill PT, and for today what I have here is NBA 2018 or 2K18. So the game was developed by the Visual Concepts, the same developers behind WWE and the NBA games. And yeah, the publisher is 2K obviously, and okay, they are using their internal engine, which I think they didn't ever reveal the name for it. As for the settings, what I decided to run the game, or how I decided to run the game, it is with 1080p, no anti-aliasing, but in this case it's multi-sampling anti-aliasing it's disabled, and I have the game set on ultra, and as you can see the game features already a temporal anti-aliasing, so that is why I'm not really using MSAA, and MSAA is very demanding, but you can notice that the textures are set to median, so yeah, I'm using the ultra preset, but I'm using the median textures, and I'm doing that because if you go with the high textures like I'm now trying to do, as you can see, high textures, the game will say something like this: no, the high texture detail setting is not recommended for systems with less than 3 GB of VRAM. So yeah, if you have one of those graphic cards listed on the title of the video, but they have like 2 GB of VRAM, I surely recommend you to go with the textures on medium. If you have your R7 370 with 4 GB, you can go with the textures on high without any single problem. But either way, I decided to test the game with the high settings, which enables the textures on medium, so there is no problem. I also tested the game with my custom presets, of course, the ultra settings with textures on medium, but I also tried the game with the ultra settings with the textures on high, which the game says that I shouldn't do because of the VRAM. And what I noticed is there wasn't too much stuttering going on, but still the frame times were a little bit worse. So yeah, I do recommend that you use medium textures, 2 GB graphic card, but probably most of the people won't be noticing that. So yeah, this is a little bit confusing. This is the results that I got without recording. You can see that the ultra or custom ultra as the frame rate very close to each other, so it's pretty much the same thing regarding performance with high textures or median textures. Although if you go with the high settings you can notice a boost in the average, but the minimums are still bad, okay? So what can I say about this in fact? Well, what can I say is that the game in the normal gameplay, it runs above the 60 frames per second, no troubles whatsoever, and for me that's exactly what I want for this game. Although, just like on FIFA 18 or Pro Evolution Soccer 2018, as soon as you get to a replay or as soon as you get to a cutscene, the game is more demanding, and in those areas the game do drop from the frame rate, and sometimes it's not only GPU fault, it is too CPU fault, because sometimes the Phenom II can't really handle the 60 frames per second in some cameras during the cutscenes, okay? But during the regular gameplay, the game handles 60 frames per second without a sweat, okay? Well, more than less. Okay, so, but you might say something that you are a liar, because I'm looking to the MSI Afterburner and I'm clearly seeing 50 frames per second and 48 frames per second. So you are saying that your game runs at 60 frames per second all the time, and yet I'm seeing 48 and 50s and 57. You are a liar. Well, not exactly. What happens in here is that I'm recording with AMD Radeon Relive, and despite AMD Radeon Relive or Nvidia Shadowplay being very lightweight, the thing is this game is very demanding to the CPU. So the CPU usage that you usually get in this game can go up to 100% of CPU usage. So what happens is when your CPU is at 100%, there is no more space for more stuff to do. And like I said, AMD Radeon Relive and Shadowplay do use the graphic card to record, but they always need to have a little bit small fraction of the CPU to handle the encoding. So since the CPU is already full with the game logic, nothing is available for the recorder, so the recorder needs to kick in the middle of the CPU, and that completely ruins the frame rate. That is why the frame rate is so much worse comparing to the results without recording. And what I can say is that without recording, the game runs entirely at 60 frames per second whatever if you go with the eye settings, whatever if you go with the ultra settings, which the game doesn't recommend because of the VRAM, or whatever if you go with the ultra settings with the textures on median, which is a settings that I do recommend. Obviously, all of these without MSAA. So the game runs fine above the 60s. Only the cutscenes do drop, but this happens also with FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer 2018, so the game runs fine. But the thing is, you are seeing like an uncapped frame rate, so the frame rate is all over the place. So do I really recommend you to play this way? No, I'm just doing this just to show you the boundaries where the game gets. As soon as you start to play this game and to enjoy this game decently and forgetting about graphics and frame rates, what I do recommend you is to play this game with the Vsync on. And this game has a lot of options for Vsync. In fact, you have the Vsync on, which is going to lock to the hertz of your monitor. That probably is a 60 Hz, so it's going to cap to 60 frames per second, and the game will feel very smooth and very comfortable to play. You have also an half Vsync, which caps to the half of the hertz of the monitor, which in most of the case will lock to 30 frames per second, which I don't recommend. It's not necessary. Our system handles above 60 frames per second with no problems, so there is no interest in doing the half Vsync. It will get worse in response and frame rate, so don't use half Vsync if you have this system. And also, as soon as you activate Vsync on or anything, you also unlock an option called Adaptive Vsync. This is something new in the game, and it is something that Pro Evolution Soccer 2018 do have too, something that FIFA don't have in fact. So what this does is, the developers clearly know that the cutscenes or the replays are more demanding, and so if you enable Adaptive Vsync, the game will lock to 60 frames per second during the gameplay, which is exactly what we want, but during the replays or cutscenes, the game go with the half Vsync, so it locks to 30 frames per second, and I think it makes entirely sense, because we are not getting the 60 frames per second during the replays or cutscenes, and the game automatically, when you reach those moments, okay, the cutscenes and the replays, the game do lock at 30 frames per second, and when you get back to the regular gameplay, the game gives you again the 60 frames per second. I think that is amazing. Although, whatever if you use this or not, I think it doesn't matter, because cutscenes are cutscenes, it's not a playable moment that you will enjoy, okay? But during the gameplay, which is what really interests us, the game do deliver the 60 frames per second, okay? I'm not sure if I talked about this, but the eye settings, I do get bottleneck, but is that important? Well, in my opinion, no, because we still get higher averages with the eye settings. But since I want to play this game at 60 frames per second, I can go with the ultra settings with no problem, okay? So essentially that's all that I want to talk about WWE 2000, oh my god, WWE, oh no, I mean NBA 2018. Hope you did enjoy the video, and I do hope you to stay a little bit longer watching the rest of the video, especially right at this moment, because I think it's interesting, okay? So hope you enjoyed the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
These guys, man, they straight up been getting smoked over the stretch. They really need to refocus here.
Chicago going with an almost entirely new group here. Markkanen, he's checked in for Lopez. Portis comes in for Mirotic. Justin Holiday's checked in for Levine, and it's Grant in for Chris Dunn. Now here's Iguodala. Kicks to Livingston. They set the pick. To the inside, Young. And Nick Young with the slam.
Oh, and a nice look by Livingston, keeping his eyes up, locates the man.
Pass to Portis. He feeds it to Holiday. He kicks it to Wade. Some nice ball movement by the Bulls. Grant, right side. Pulls it up. That one doesn't drop. And it's the Warriors taking it the other way.
And Kevin, they need to be consistent with their effort on the boards. You look at the box score, and they're at a definite disadvantage.
Now, here's Grant. 2 seconds separating the shot clock and game clock. Holiday sets the pick for Grant. The pass to Holiday. They set the pick. Here's Wade. Good defensive work there by Young. Got the shot! He
Just
got it!
no better feeling to be able to deliver in a moment like that.
He's just hot. When you hitting him like that, he's just
OMG, that's how you silence a crowd.
And so the first quarter is in the books. Warriors lead by 4. And we'll be back with you for the start of the second quarter when we return.